I've been asked to make a video on why I think it's important that the world unite around ending LRA violence. It is such a deep and complex question that, frankly, I know I cannot even begin to scratch the surface of this conflict that's been going on in Central Africa for longer than I've been alive. Joseph Kony started the LRA in the 1980s and has systemically displaced and abducted thousands, over 400,000 displaced, 20,000 men, women, and children abducted, forced to fight on the front lines of a war, and at the same time used as slaves. And we have to ask ourselves, why does this exist? And the important question of why should anyone get involved? It has nothing to do with the vast majority of us. And it's a question that I've had to ask myself periodically as I've been involved with ending this conflict since 2005. When I heard a boy who is a victim of LRA violence speak to the fact that he was invisible, that his heart was beeping, and the mere memory of his slaughtered brother brought tears to his eyes, but he felt that he was not important enough to speak. It was in that moment of raw honesty, as a person who has also felt invisible for a long period of his life, that I realized that my brother, his name was Ronnie, was so much like me that both our hearts beat the same. He said his heart was beeping, and my heart beeped too, to be known and to have value. And so that's where my journey began. It was just a matter of caring and no longer being afforded the luxury of apathy. And as I've matured, I've realized that this conflict, it goes a lot more deeper than simply people wanting to see it end. That it's not just about caring enough. So why should the world unite in a conflict that doesn't directly influence much of the world? My answer is this, is how does it not affect us? Do we really want the realities of what has been almost an unchecked crime against humanity to be a reality for our futures? A few years ago, I had come to the realization that Joseph Kony and the Lord's Resistance Army were not my enemies. But the true enemy that I faced when advocating for issues of justice is I faced the apathy of why should I care? That is the true enemy that we face, is the apathy that allows Joseph Kony and groups like the Lord's Resistance Army to flourish. And as I began to process that idea, I began to see that each and every day I collectively make choices in creating a new world. Each day, a world is present for only that day, and the choices that we make during this day create a new world at the beginning of the next day. With each setting of the sun, a world that we knew dies, and each rising of a new sun, we have a new world before us that is set upon the foundations of the choices of yesterday. And so I have to ask myself, what world do I wish to be a part of creating? Is it a world where for almost 30 years, systemically someone can destroy part of a continent, destroy people groups, hunt down children and use them as pawns, and the rest of the world looks the other way? Can I be a part of a world that says that there's nothing that can be done, that there's no point in trying, and I should just stay out of it? Do I want to be part of a world where apathy, poverty, destruction, and violence exist? These hands create that world, in a sense. And so over the last 8 years of my life, I have chose to use these hands to dismantle those foundations of a world of yesterday to create a stronger and more loving world of tomorrow. That is why I believe that we should collectively unite against ending this conflict, to stopping this violence, because I understand that everyone who draws breath on this planet is worth the effort. And I'm no longer afforded the luxury of apathy while stating that I want the world to be a better place for every brother and sister on this planet. So I ask you, anyone who watches this, to know that each and every day there's a mission before you to take part in creating a world. And what do you want to use your hands for? I choose to use my hands for this. And I ask that you join with me.